I can't believe we're even having to talk about this. Lucky Charms are healthier than steak. So, I mean,
that's right. What do you expect?
We're at.
So today with me, I have Dr. Rimka, and I'm excited about this conversation. We're going to talk all things carnivore. So if you could just tell us your story, how you got started and where you came from a nutrition standpoint.
Yeah. Well, I'm super happy to be here too. So my story, pretty long in the food thing, because I've been really interested in health and functional nutrition for a long time. I was a strong athlete my whole life. I was a college athlete. So, taking care of yourself was a big deal. Hitting the weights was always training, always practicing, always trying to be bigger, better, faster, stronger, right? In college, though, that's when the whole kind of vegetarian indoctrination starts. So like every other girl who gained a little bit of weight and all your friends were telling you to become a vegetarian. So I did. So I became a vegetarian in college. After a couple of years, that went all the way to vegan. I was a vegan for 12 years. So 2 years before, so 14 years as a vegetarian. I never made the connection as to why I broke my back and herniated some discs in a college soccer game, that was because of my diet, and nobody else made that connection. I didn't make it till many years later. So I basically got to a point in my 30s where I went into severe kind of hormonal health decline, and my friends who are much older were like, Stephanie, this is not okay. Something's really wrong. Now I'm a super tough, kind of suck it up kind of a gal. I played a whole season on a broken ankle taped up because I am like that. So I don't complain a lot if I'm hurting, right? And when I got to the point where I'm like, I really am not right here. I'm gaining all this weight. My hair is falling out. I'm up all night. My periods are horrible. I was in debilitating pain every month. And they said, this sounds like menopause, actually. I'm 50, honey. You need to go see a doctor, right? And I'm like, I don't know, right? So finally, they had good people. I went. Turns out all my hormones were devastated, thyroid gone. I was in early menopause. They're like, you're infertile. You can't get pregnant.
Wow.
You're on thyroid replacement. You need to be on estrogen, progesterone, right? Everything except testosterone, because at that point, they didn't diagnose me. I was undiagnosed with PCOS. And a few years later, that ruptured and put me in the ER, and I figured that out too, all from this diet, okay? All from how I was eating. So they went ahead and did my genetics, and it finally convinced me to go. They're like, look, you're Indian as well. Well, like, you can't have gluten. This is all you eat is gluten and soy. This is a problem, right? So through many doctors at that point had told me to start eating meat, many who I deeply respected, but I was, to me, doing this for spiritual and ethical and moral reasons. And I had really convinced myself that my own suffering was worth it. So that comes from some deep, self-loathing. We're pretty much, I think, psychologically trained to hate other humans, hate ourselves, and we're this disgusting parasitic vermin of the earth. This is like kind of the story that's being told in that community, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You see it all the time. Mean people suck on their bumper stickers, and they all have rescue dogs. I was that person. Okay. I was her. I had about 47 rescue dogs. I am not kidding. Okay. I was the woman with the dogs at the PetSmart on a Saturday. I'm not lying. So through lots of the spiritual conversation with this amazing endocrinologist, he says, I get it. He actually talked to me spiritually with stuff for an hour and talked about animals, and was like, you're a great doctor. And at this point, you can barely work. You can barely function. Do you really think this is what God, the universe, wants you to be like, to be suffering? And how are you going to keep helping patients if your career is about to be over? So I said, okay. So I started eating meat, and I went to salmon. Now this was in my 30s. Okay. Got rid of the gluten, got rid of the soy, started eating salmon 2-3 times a day. Like, I figure fish and shrimp. Okay. They're not bunnies. It was very emotionally a mess at this point. And it took a second. Within 3 days, it was like, I felt like, what's her face in the Wizard of Oz? I always thought it's exactly how it felt. It was 3 days where literally the entire world went from gray to technicolor, wonderful. I had no idea how actually depressed and miserable I was, because I had normalized feeling that way. And I went, what?
So you felt like Dorothy on the yellow brick road.
Yeah, it was magical. And I remember looking at a friend like, oh, and I was like, I'm going to ask you something. I'm like, so like, you don't like want to die all the time, do you? She's like, what? I said, no. I'm like, well, that's how I was feeling all the time. But I just didn't talk about it. So like, I just thought it was kind of normal. I don't feel like that now. I will never touch it again. I put it all to gluten and soy though, right?
Right.
Which is a toxin and a horrible poison and was really ruining me, right? Atypical celiac. I was diagnosed with celiac at that point. Okay. So it was then though, 6 months later, oops, someone's pregnant. I was like, wait, what? I thought you said I couldn't get pregnant. Like, well, we were wrong, because apparently you can. I went, okay, so what do I do? They go, stop taking all the hormones. I said, okay. They're like, so if your body can do this, it's going to do everything. So pretty much I became this very meat-based centered person, not carnivore, very low carb, gluten-free, or I've been gluten-free 18 some years, gluten soy-free. Pregnancy, my son stayed in me 10 and a half months and he is 17 years old. Okay. So I was on bed rest for 8.5 months. It was damn near killed me because I was super sick, right? The veganism had destroyed me, right? I had nothing in me. I had no hormones. And they kind of said, well, to go from rock bottom estrogen and rock bottom, if your body can go from those numbers and actually keep this baby inside of you, then you will have reversed it all. So I had to eat constantly. I gained 80 pounds. Okay. So my body had to regenerate so much tissue and so much energy to make this happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was high risk. I was hemorrhaging vaginally for a long time. So it was just, he's my little miracle boy. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was conversations of my sister, like, could you carry a baby for me? Right. It was like that. Right. Because they were like, you're destroyed. Your thyroid's destroyed. Your ovaries are destroyed. And I've reversed almost all
amazing.
Of it. Okay.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah. So that's meat. I was just, tons of all of the things eating at that, eggs, everything. Then about 5 years ago, so I'm super low carb, like kind of keto, paleo for a long time. And I haven't touched that stuff. It's just toxic poison to me. And then 5 years ago, I don't know what it was or who posted. You see Sean Baker, you see whoever it was. And it was Georgia Ede, right? Psychiatrist, who it was her stuff. And she's the one I loved. And Amber, who really pulled me in the most. They're soft, kind of feminine, more nurturing way. I was really drawn to this, like, wait, what? I'm like, well, I want to try this. And at this point in practice, most of my practice focuses on mental health. And I'd taken a very strong stance a few years before that, where I stopped taking vegans. I said, I'm done.
Wow.
I won't accept.
Good for you.
Yeah, because I don't want to take their money and not produce. And at the end of the day, people come to me for mental health disorders and diagnoses and to get off the drugs and stop being suicidal. I can't fix a vegan brain. It holds no charge. It can't do it. So I'd be doing these therapies, these expensive neurofeedback and biofeedback and electromagnetic things that pay me $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. It's not working the same as it was on everybody else. And I was like, why? I'm like, right, because they can't hold a charge and they don't have enough structure. And I don't care, how many supplements can you make them buy? After a while, I said, I'm done. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to have you guys spending $2,000, $3,000 a month on supplements, and it doesn't work. So we're just going to either you get on board with the way I'm going to do it, and I'm going to really heal you structurally and teach you what it means to be human, or I'm not taking you. But that's how we're at. So that was a decision I made a few years ago, and that's just how it is. And I have a lot of people convert from veganism to even carnivore at this point. So I thought I was going to do it for 30 days. And for me, it's just the easiest, simplest, most freeing, fabulous way of eating. I felt amazing. I felt like I went from like, I'm good to like super.
Wow.
I was like, oh, what? Like, is this how men feel? Because I mean,
not all of them, because some
you
of
know
them
what
are
I'm saying?
vegans.
Well, yeah, I mean, just swag, just confidence and strength and like, ooh, like, what is this? This is another edge that I didn't know was there. I like
Yeah.
it. And like, let's stop lying. I don't like a vegetable. I
Right.
don't. I don't like any of it anyway. I'm like, I ate enough of
Now,
that crap as a vegan. If I never see a portobello mushroom again in my life, I could care less. I just loved it, and I started bringing it with patients. I started taking all my MS patients off the Walls protocol, and everyone got better and better and better and better. I said, this is banging. I'm just getting them better, and I'm faster. All the Crohn's, I was already using carnivore diet, but didn't know what it was called. On all my Crohn's patients, ulcerative colitis patients, I'm like, oh my God, I've been doing this and I didn't know it was a thing. Yeah.
yeah. And when I hear people will say to me, oh, I could never go carnivore because I couldn't give up my vegetables. And I'm like, listen, I loved vegetables. I was vegan for a while, I was vegetarian for a while. I was an avid juicer, like 2-week-long juice fasts I would do. And I thought I loved it. I was proud. I would carry my juice everywhere I went. You know, I mean, it was like,
As you're shaking and you're freezing cold.
I was cold all the time.
Cold all the time. I've done about 30 juice fasts. I'm like,
yeah.
is it 22 degrees in here? Because I'm always freezing. I'm like, no, it's just you. Like,
yeah. But I thought I loved it. You know what I mean? I thought it was so simple. I thought it was so easy. It took the choices away from me. Oh my goodness. This is easy. Throwing a steak in the air fryer, throwing a steak on the grill, removing all of those other options is the easiest thing in the world to me. I mean,
I make almost no decisions around food. It's like nothing. Yeah.
When people say I couldn't do that because I couldn't eat all meat, and I'm like, then you're standing in your own way. Get out of your way. Get out of your way. It's that mentality. Oh, I could never do that, because that holds people back. And don't hold yourself back from doing something that's this easy, because when you do finally try it, you're going to be kicking yourself. Why didn't I do this earlier? It's crazy. Okay, so what's a typical day of eating look like for you these days?
I don't know if we want to follow what I do. I actually struggled. I don't eat enough. That's a new thing I've kind of discovered about myself in the last few weeks, as I've been really pushing myself athletically, because I'm really focused on packing on muscle right now. I just turned 50 last week, and I just had a DEXA yesterday, as a matter of fact, and he looked and he goes, Stephanie, you've put on 4.5 pounds in 9 months of muscle. He goes, you should be, I haven't cut as much body fat as I want. And he's like, it's going down, but that's a lot of muscle to put on. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm like, you're right. So I realize I'm not actually eating enough. So I usually only eat once a day, just because of simple, I'm not hungry, and I just don't want to waste my time cooking and cleaning. I'm super overscheduled. I'm really working harder to eat. I feel better if I eat 2 or 3 times a day. I'm not going to lie. I run a course, a 90-day course for women going carnivore. I make them eat 3 times a day. I think people are under eating, women in particular, especially when they're transitioning. I'm like, you've been starving yourself, mama. You are, this is not okay. I don't care if you're 100 pounds overweight. You're starving. So we're going to throw away all the salads and we're going to eat some meat. Okay. But right now, I pretty much eat the same things. I love filet mignon and hamburgers is pretty much the majority of what I eat. You know, a little bacon here and there. I like oysters. When I go out to eat, it's going to be like oyster. I'm always going out for oysters. And like, I'll do seafood out just because I don't want to cook it in my house, because I don't want it to smell. So I just keep it really, and eggs. So I like a lot of eggs, and I'll do like eggs and sausage or eggs and bacon or something like that. And I'll do eggs at, 6 o'clock at night or whatever. So it doesn't matter to me. That's the typical. I keep it, I'm not doing fancy. I might make a roast or something, but I'm not following recipes. I don't do any of that. 5 minutes, the whole process is done.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the under eating thing. Did I see a post about that recently? Did you make a post about under eating?
I thought I did. Under eating,
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because many people, women especially, but men sometimes too, don't eat enough at the beginning of the carnivore diet. For the first 8 months, I didn't eat enough and I fasted too much. And I actually gained 18 pounds in the first 8 months of doing the carnivore diet while crying every day, not being able to figure out what the heck I was doing wrong.
In my course for these women, I'm like, you are no longer allowed to fast. And I've had 25 years of fasting. I've gone 10, 12, 13 days multiple times. Fasting is not hard for me. I get the point of it. Not when you go carnivore. The reason people like to fast and why they feel so good, the main thing, you stop eating poison. I liked fasting so much because I was a vegan. You understand? I felt amazing when I was fasting. Why? Because I stopped eating all the plant poison. I don't need to fast as much now. Why? I'm going into autophagy and ketosis every night. I'm already doing it. I'm fine. This is cyclical ketosis. I don't need to worry about anything else.
Yeah. And I didn't feel as good as some people say they feel, but it's because I was under eating by so much. So I do the same thing you do.
You need to eat little and this and that. 3 times a day.
That's what I tell people. Same thing. 3 meals a day. Do not fast at all. You need to nourish your body. You need to feel good.
And then a good 8 to 12 hour eating window. Just eat. Eat. In the beginning, eat. It'll change over time. You know, the microbiome could take easy 6 months to adjust to this. I mean, it's just give it time.
Yeah. Okay. And then one last question and we'll wrap it up. I wanted to ask you what you think about Fatima Stanford. I'm sure you know who she is. For those that don't know, she was newly appointed to the U.S. Dietary Guidelines Committee. She's an obesity specialist. And her actual quote from her 60 Minutes video that aired in January was that the number one cause of obesity is genetics. What do you think about that?
So I didn't know who she was. I know nothing about her. I know this, right? So I know our government, you know, is in bed with the pharmaceutical firms who own all the medical schools. And to me, she's just another moron paid shill to push drugs and bariatric surgery at children and adults. Because now if we can say it's totally genetics, which is the biggest lie of, I don't even know where to, when you say, I don't even know where to start with this because it's so ludicrous. It's as ludicrous as the Tufts University study saying Lucky Charms is healthier than steak and eggs. It's so, this is so beyond contrary to anybody's common sense. What do we say besides look at her and go, is there a candid camera on me right now? Because it is absolutely not genetic. We would have evidence throughout history of this being a major problem. We would see all the tribal cultures with all these obese people because that are inside of them because it's just genetic, but that's not what we see. It is 100% environmental lifestyle combined. I will let people off the hook a little bit. You are being poisoned to death in your environment. It is making it much harder. I am sorry. It is not fair, but it is not an excuse. Then all the more reason you better pay attention to what you put in your mouth, what you put in your skin, and how you move your body, what your lifestyle is, right? We can't escape the endocrine disrupting issues that are going on, how we're being poisoned and how they're, you know what I mean? They are slowing metabolism in many ways. That's not genetics. That's them. And is very clear. She's on payroll to move the movement towards, see, it's not his fault, it's not our fault, so let's get the 12-year-old bariatric surgery. Saying we're going to start pushing, you know, Wegovy and everything else for children, lifelong customers. Let them keep eating donuts, let them keep drinking Coke, let them keep sitting in their house playing video games, and we'll just have surgery on Wegovy for life. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah, and one of the things that bothers me is that she says, for people who have obesity and people that have overweight. And to me, that's like comparing it to something like cancer. And we have very good friends who the husband has cancer right now. And I don't think we can compare people eating too much pizza and potato chips and candy and Coca-Cola to somebody who has cancer. I don't think that's fair to do to society, to the cancer patients. And it's a learned behavior. And that's obvious. The fact that you have an 80% chance of being obese if your parents are obese is because you eat the same things as your parents. It's not because you have the same eye and hair color as them. That's a totally different thing.
I mean, it's just a part of Western medicine, Rockefeller medicine. Their entire shtick is to make you feel and believe you are weak, you are a victim, you are powerless, and you are inherently broken. So you therefore need their drugs and their surgeries. That's their whole thing. They're a mechanistic viewpoint of you're like a robotic machine of a bunch of parts put together. And they're the ones who came up with the concept that you're so deranged that your body attacks itself. And it's so stupid, we have to put it on drugs all the time, you know, because clearly you all have a statin deficiency, an Adderall deficiency. Right. You know what I mean? Babies come out, clearly they're wrong. We must mutilate, cut them up and inject them in the hospital 3 hours after birth. Like this is what they've done to us. That people think it's normal to mutilate their babies, that people think it's normal to inject them repeatedly. Like, you know, like we think it's normal to give a pill and have a girl never have a period. Excuse me? You can take a pill now that you literally don't bleed all year? Why would somebody think that's healthy?
Right. Yeah.
But that's how they are. Everything the body does to them is vile. You're like a vile thing of symptoms and fluids and nastiness.
Yeah.
That's how Rockefeller medicine looks at you. And this is just another example to keep you weak and disempowered and slow and dumb. That's what they're doing, you know?
Yeah.
Let's help you and teach you. Plus it makes the doctors lazy. I mean, they don't have to do anything, you know, but what people don't seem to understand, the word doctor is Latin for teacher. And they've completely forgotten that. Yeah. That is the job of a doctor, is to teach. But you can't make enough money doing that. You know, you got to have 7-minute visits or they're going to kick you off the insurance. So that's why my visits are 1 to 2 hours.
Yeah. And if you go to the doctor and the doctor doesn't ask you about your lifestyle and your food before they do anything else, like prescribe you medicine, it's time to find a new doctor. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Well, let's be clear. They don't know anything about it. Right. If you're going to a physician for healthcare, 95% of them have no idea. They've never been trained in lifestyle. They've never been trained in nutrition. So why would you ask a mechanic to do your taxes?
That's true.
I don't ask my accountant how to fix my car. That's not her job. You're asking people who know nothing about something, their opinion. So unless they have been specifically branding themselves as doing nutrition and lifestyle management, I wouldn't waste your time. And anybody who works in a hospital, not trained in that. Hospitalists know nothing about it. They get 0 to maybe 4 hours a year in nutrition in their medical school. So you're going to have to go to a private practice person who's basically branding themselves as functional medicine. They're going to spend time with you because they don't know anything about it. They don't study health. They don't study life. They study symptom disease management. That's all they know how to do. If your expectation is something else, eventually the problem's on the patient. I keep trying to explain this to people. I'm like, stop looking for them. I wouldn't even waste your time, because actually, if you ask them, they're going to tell you it makes no difference. Every gastroenterologist that's basically out there, you know what they tell you? Now, that's a person who studies the gut. Right. What you eat makes no difference to your Crohn's, your ulcerative colitis, your IBS, your diverticulitis. You mean the thing that goes in this hole makes no difference going through a pipe that comes out another hole? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. But this is how they think. They're like, it makes no difference. I'm like, are you guys serious? Like, they're that dumb. They're so like disconnected from the human body and how it works and how it's optimized. So be aware of that. Like, people who study like the actual gastrointestinal system are not taught about food and nutrition.
Right. So, that's crazy.
Right. So certainly your pediatrician knows nothing when you say, here's my autistic child, or here's my child with ADHD, or here's my child that's struggling, you know, with wetting the bed. What should we do? You think they know how to do anything except give a drug? Do you think they know how to do anything about how to, and does diet matter? Absolutely not. They'll say, oh, it makes no difference with that kiddies. I'm like, really? Because I've reversed autism more times than you can spell the word with someone's diet. What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
But that's medicine for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Get a new doctor.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much for chatting with me this afternoon. It has been a lot of fun, and I'm very grateful for doctors like you in the carnivore and low carb community who are willing to give and share and help people and give advice. You're amazing, and just thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's again, I take the teacher role very seriously. I like to teach, and I do as much out there free as I possibly can. I do have to make a living and actually, see patients and do appointments and stuff like that. If I ever win the lottery, maybe I could do it all for free, you guys. But a lot of this is very simple. And I tell people, there's a lot you can do yourself. Take the bull by the horns. Stop making excuses. The information is here. People like you running groups and coaching programs. And then if you really are dealing with fine tuning something, or if there's a big condition or diagnosis, then you come to us and we can help really customize and optimize, things. But because sometimes people don't have the patience, let's say, Serena, like the body will heal anything. You give it enough time and enough nutrition, but sometimes it's uncomfortable to go through it. If you're dealing with Lyme disease or chronic fatigue and you go carnivore, you're going to get really good results, but maybe we could help make it better faster, with a couple agents. So I do my best. There's a ton of us out here trying, because you don't have to be sick. Eat real food. Start filling yourself with nutrition, give your body what it needs, and stop poisoning it with other poisons. And you'd be amazed at what it can do.